the part 1, I basically want to do a part 2 of new features inside this next general release. There are many, many new features, which is great for you guys. However, there are several that I wanted to really touch on, as I felt it was really pertinent and very important to your guys' business to be aware of these new features. So that's kind of what this webinar is about. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Jenny Cooper. I've been with the company for about 3 years now. I've done several of these webinars, so you guys have either seen or heard me throughout. I started out as a tech, and I now work in the marketing department. I'm a digital marketeer, and I'm my company's travel agent. So I'm the one that books everyone to come see you guys when we go to trade shows and things like that. I am being assisted today by Mr. Chad Klein. You guys also always know and love him as well. Chad, if you could go ahead and hit the start recording button, that would be fantastic for me, and we'll go ahead and get started. All right, guys, so as I said, today's webinar is they're at it again, more new features inside Paladin. There are several things that we're going to cover today, and I'm also going to make sure that we have plenty of time for questions at the end if need be, so feel free. So these are the key features that we're going to be learning about today. Preventing discounts on selected items versus an all or nothing thing that it had been before. We can now include freight costs within the receiving report. And we can now integrate multiple RX systems simultaneously, and I'll explain kind of the back end of that and how to do that for our pharmacy listeners here. We can also now stop barcode scans when cashier action is required. We have a third inventory item description box that we can now use, and I'll show you how to demo. I'll demo all of these things for you. We can now finally show customer account balances on receipts. And then also reverse the payment and discount fields in the account payment window, and I'll show you what that looks like and how to set it up and why this may or may not be important to you guys. So let's go ahead and jump on in and get started. First slide here, prevent discounts on selected items. So the first thing you want to do, you can prevent specific inventory items from receiving discounts, whereas before we couldn't do specific items, and now we can. In the inventory module, we're going to look up an inventory item, then on that pricing tab, click the net checkbox to select it. A manager's credentials can override this setting at checkout, and then I'm going to go ahead and show you a demo on how it's done inside Paladin. All right, so we're in the inventory module, and I'm going to go ahead and just look up an item real quick. And again, in the inventory module, the pricing tab, that net box here, okay, that is going to, excuse me, that is going to prevent certain inventory items from receiving any sort of discount. So despite the fact that it may be a part of a pricing plan or a sale, but you don't want it to have discounts for whatever reason, you simply hit this net checkbox, and that will do the trick for you. And then, of course, you hit F12 or hit the Save button. And then there it is. Now, you can always uncheck that box if you decide that you do want to go ahead and get discounts if pricing changes for whatever reason. Now, again, just like any other discount inside Paladin, manager's credentials can always override this at checkout if this isn't something that you want to do, or if it is something you do want to do and you aren't aware of this specific feature yet. And so that's how you do that part. Okay. And then moving on, including freight costs in the receiving report. So again, very specifically, this is within the receiving report itself that you can include that freight option. So to include freight costs, when you run the receiving report in the report settings pane, click the include freight checkbox to select it. And I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do that. So when we're running the reports, we want to run the receiving report. If I can remember where it is. There it is. History, receiving report. Under additional settings, it's right here. If you want to include the freight or not, you simply check that box, hit run report, and then it'll show up. Moving on to the next one, integrating multiple RX systems simultaneously. Now, if there are any pharmacy people listening for this, this is obviously very specifically for them. What it means if you happen to be running, let's say, PK and SweetRx, and you need both of them, that's completely okay, and they'll both be fully integrated with Paladin now. And you can run them at the same time. However, it's really important they must have identifiers in the RX system. Now, that is something in the RX system code, not in the Paladin code. So what you'll need to do is contact them, and we'll make sure that they'll know what you're talking about because they've been working with our developers, but it's not something we can do. So you need to talk to them and let them know you want multiple integration with Paladin, and then they'll know what to do. That way, let's say you go to scan a script and it's a SweetRx script instead of a PK script, you don't want to get those mixed up and then have your systems be off. That's kind of what those identifiers are for. So, and if you guys have questions, if any of the pharmacies have questions on this, or you guys aren't comfortable, or you're not quite sure what to say, call Paladin support first, and we will absolutely walk you through it and we'll help you. That's not a problem at all. That's what we're here for. All right, this one does require Paladin configuration, and it's not just a checkbox that you guys can do. So first and foremost, if this is something that you want enabled, you need to contact Paladin support, and there's a certain driver and things like that that we need to do. So there's some techie stuff that needs to be involved in order for this to go through. So during checkout, when a cashier's attention is required, Paladin can stop the barcode scanner from scanning items until the issue is resolved. So that's obviously going to be beneficial for several different things inside your store. It's going to require the cashier to pay attention and make sure things are good, but also if something rings up, say, at the wrong price, or something just seems a little strange when they go to the checkout process, it's going to notice it inside the system, whether there's a discrepancy or not, and it's going to say, hey, it needs your attention. Is this really okay? And it's not going to allow them to continue through, which also can help the possibility of theft later as well, which is great. And as you can see in the picture here, these lights are really going to they indicate when cashier action is required. So it's going to pop up on the screen in Paladin, but then also, as you can see, red, the scanning is stopped, 3 flashes, and 3 beeps. So there's definitely going to be several different indicators on the barcode scanner itself as well as up on the screen. So it'll be pretty hard to miss. That way the cashier doesn't go and just start scanning things and not realizing their whole order has been scanned if, let's say, the first item needed attention. All right, the next one, third inventory item description box. Here's a little picture for you. The 2 of them are up here, and then the third one is down here. The new description box has been added in the inventory module up in the general tab in the items information pane. Use this description box for signs, sales, promotional information, that kind of thing. So we're going to go ahead and pan over to Paladin, and I'll show you what that means. So if we're in the inventory module, we have our part number pulled up in the general tab. We're going to scroll down. So if you notice under the item information pane, we now have a little scroll bar here. Say, sell for 50% off until inventory is to 0. And then we hit save, and you can use that for promotional items and things like that. This one, the next 2 features are probably some of the coolest new features that are really important that Paladin customers have been asking for quite a long time. So I want to make sure that you guys are aware of this, which is really cool. We can now show customer account balances on the receipt. This, again, has been asked for quite a while, and now we're finally able to do it. So you have to set this up inside Paladin, and I'll show you how to do it. This is something that you guys can do. It's not something you have to call Paladin for. You can always call Paladin support if you're uncomfortable going into that menu, but you can absolutely do it yourself. So this is going to show up on both receipts. on your standard TSP 100 or your standard receipt, your smaller one, it's going to show up on the bottom, just like what this picture says, the amount due from last statement and then the total currently owing, because those balances could be different. Now, if you do half sheet receipts or if you do full sheet receipts, it's going to show up kind of in the middle, like right after the text is done. That way you can see it right there as well. So I'll go ahead and show you how to set that up inside Paladin. So under File, Setup, and then the Receivables tab, right here, the second to the last option, it says Print Balances on ROA Receipts. So all you have to do is check that box, hit Save, close the window, close out of Paladin, reopen it just to be safe to make sure that the changes have been set. And then from there on out, if someone comes in and purchases things and on their account, it will then show the balance at the bottom of the receipt or mid-page, depending on if you have the full receipt or just the smaller one from the standard TSP 100 receipts. And then the next feature is also still going to be in that Receivables tab. This one here, reverse payment and discount fields in the account payment window. And I'll show you how to set that up and then how to also use it as well. So this one has also been one that has kind of been asked for a long time, and we are now finally able to give that to you, which is great. So when you go to set the account payment, I'll show you what it was before and then what it can be now and the slight difference of the two. So I'm going to turn that feature off real quick. All right, so in the invoice and quote module, when we have an account selected, okay, the account payment F5 window that you guys all know and love, right? This is how it has always looked inside Paladin. The discount box has been first, and then the payment box has been second. For a long time, a lot of our customers have asked, well, why don't we have them switched, or at least have the option to be them switched? Well, now we do. And how we do that, we go into File, Setup, and that Receivables tab that we were just in, right here at the very bottom, Account Payment Reverse Discount / Payment Fields. You check that box, you hit Save, Close, and then I'm going to refresh the screen. We have an account selected. It's important to have an account selected. This account payment button will not pop up unless there is an account selected in this invoice and quote field. And now, as you can see, the payment and discount boxes have been switched. So if this is something that you're wanting to do, you absolutely can. Not required, but you can. That way, your payment can be first versus your discount. And so they're making a $10 payment, discount of 0 or 2, whatever you want to do. And then it's just going to do the same thing. You continue to check out, and it's going to show just like your normal checkout screen. Now, one thing I also want to point out, there's another place that this payment field has now been reversed once you check that box, and this part is really important too. In the customer module, when you have a customer selected and you go to do, let's see, an account payment down here, over here, it is now switched again as well, just like in the account payment screen on the invoice and quote module. So again, this feature not only switches it from the invoice and quote module, but it also switches it when you're in the customer module and you hit that F5 account payment button as well. As you notice, the amount of payment is now up here instead of discount allowed. This is not required, but if you want to do it, go ahead. Just be mindful when you do switch it, since you kind of have that muscle memory of always having the discount first. Make sure that you remember and pay attention to the fact that payment is now first instead of discount. Otherwise, you're going to be giving people massive discounts and zero payments. There we go. Okay, now to learn all about these new features, we have our new help portal, right, which is portal.paladinpos.com, and we have all of these. These are all links inside this webinar, but then also you can find them all here. They're all about the knowledge-based articles and resources for you to be able to click on these and read all about these new features. And then, of course, as always, you can find the recording. Now, notice that the link has changed. This link is different from, or the address is different from where it was a couple weeks ago. You now can find them at portal.paladinpos.com/webinars. So at this time, that's what I have for you webinar-wise, but we want to go to questions. I see that Dave has his hand raised, but I don't know if there are any questions. Chad? Chad, are you there? Okay, it looks like, okay, so Dave, you're wanting to know, can you eliminate the discount box completely? Dave, I'm going to unmute you so I can get a better understanding of exactly what you're asking. All right, so Dave, you're unmuted. Can you go ahead and explain exactly kind of what you're looking for and what you mean by that question?
Yes, you were showing the discount box. You could reverse it to the payment field. I don't discount. I would like to eliminate that box completely from that field. Can we do that?
We cannot. It is something that's hard-coded in, but you don't have to use it. So if it makes more sense for you or a bookkeeper or whoever is entering in the payments or the discounts to switch it and have the payment box be first and then just train people to not even look at the second box, that's totally okay. But unfortunately, It's a hard-coded thing, so we can't make it go away.
Okay, thank you for that. I guess
Yeah,
a follow-up to that would be, can we increase the font size on the invoice receipts so that they're more legible?
I believe that's also a hard code thing, but what I can do, I'll write down that question and ask. I don't think that we can, but I don't want to 100% say. So let me go and ask, and what I'll do is I'll send you a follow-up email or I'll give you a call.
That would be great.
To follow up. Okay, and you want to change the font. Now, which receipts do you have? Do you have the smaller ones or the full sheet ones?
The smaller one off the TSP printer.
Okay. I will ask. I don't think we can, but I want to make sure.
Okay.
And then I can, do you prefer email or phone call?
Email's fine.
Okay, I'll send you a follow-up email with the answer. And I'll get that to you today.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Are there any more? I'm going to put you back on mute real quick, Dave, just because of the background noise.
Okay.
All right, are there any more questions? It doesn't look like there are. So, all right, guys, if you guys have any follow-up questions about this, feel free to contact Paladin Support. Now, also, all of these features that I did mention are in the Features and Fixes box, or that window when you log into Paladin. All of those features are there. So if you have any questions or if you don't quite understand the knowledge base article, but you don't want to call in, look at that box and that should be able to walk you through things as well. So that's all I have for you guys today. And then we should be good to go. So you guys have a great rest of your week.